y'all, Spideera here, and this is a rank and review for Dinosaur Love. Now, this is a kind of a cutesy story. It's about an older student named Dino. I think it's Dino. He falls for a younger student named Rock, and when a freak accident leads to a love at first sight kind of scenario. Basically, Dino runs into Rock and they fall down together, that kind of thing. The problem is that Rock is a cute little guy, and because of his personality and his appearance, he attracts all kinds of guys. So hot-headed Dino has a hard time dealing with the constant flirting, the stalking, and the overt behaviors of all the guys from Rock's past. So even though, Rock himself is a pretty decent guy, he's not the kind of two-time and flirt around and play games and all that, but other people are kind of pushy in his life. And so it gives the wrong impression of who he is as a person. So it kind of creates a sort of a scenario. Not necessarily a bad scenario, just a scenario where he's misunderstood often. I'll put it that way. So overall, it's that kind of story. It's very straightforward. So there's not a whole lot of twists and turns to this one. So, how does the ranking go on this one? Yes, it is a 10. Now, let me be fair. The main reason this is a 10 is because these guys have some sexual chemistry. Oh my God. Most of this is, the censored version that's on YouTube. But they have the most hellified kiss scenes I think I've seen in any BL that is on YouTube thus far. Censored or uncensored, these guys go in. I mean, there's no faking here. I mean, if they're using CGI or something, then somebody's got a tech pro in the background. So anyway, so now I'm going to admit something here. I did not want to give this a 10. I was kind of looking for any reason not to give it a 10. And part of that had to do with their marketing more so than the show. Because I had to watch this in parts because they kept setting it behind like a membership wall and all this kind of stuff. And that was one of the first times I saw anyone doing that. So the first few episodes I watched probably, I don't know, it might have even been almost a year ago now. So I didn't finish watching it until maybe last month when they finally aired like the last few episodes. And honestly, they could have dropped these last episodes a few months prior, but they pissed me off so bad, I just kind of blocked it and left it to the side. It just so happened that one of my favorite channels that list almost every BL under the sun, shout out to Rick Orange, he had all of it listed, and he noted in there that, the final episode was actually available. So that was very nice to him. I don't know that I would be so kind. My playlists are kind of to the point. If it's not up here when I get ready to post and tell you guys about watching it, I'm not going the extra mile to find you later and update and all that. Hell to the no. If that's what you want to do, then that's on you. Do you know how many BLs and yaois are out here? Oh my God. And what's funny is I've seen almost all of them, but don't tell anybody that. Okay, so anyway, that was the main reason I didn't want to go with a 10. But then I said, I can't penalize this show just because I'm pissed with the marketing. So back to the point. All right, so the good thing is, even though the marketing sucked, the show was memorable enough that I didn't have to go back and rewatch it from episode 1. I just picked it up from like the middle somewhere and immediately knew what was going on. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not the kind of show where you can watch episode 1 and then jump up and watch episode 5 and think you're going to be able to figure out what's happening. Not at all. This is a kind of show where you'll have to kind of pay attention because random characters show up throughout the season, and until, even the character responds to them like, no, I have no idea who you are. And then the guy has to tell his backstory. And then he's like, oh, yeah, okay. So you figure if the character doesn't remember who this person is, you sure as hell won't unless you watch all the episodes. Okay. Now about the why it's a 10. Everything else was well done. Regardless of my griping and complaining, it was well done. The music, the acting, production quality, overall presentation are all very well done. The main story is straight and to the point. It's kind of drama free, which is really weird to have a drama that's kind of drama free. But what I mean by drama free is that nothing really happens between the two main characters. All the drama is taking place around the characters, and they're kind of making the relationship between the two characters a sort of a response to whatever's happening around the characters. So, for instance, Rack doesn't have anything against Dino as a person. And the things that he's concerned about, he tells him straight to his face. He doesn't him and haw and play games. At the same time, Dino's also a straight shooter, so anything that he has to say to Rack, he tells him directly. For the most part, the two of them discuss it, and they decide if they're going to do this or not, if they're going to go here or not. Very simple. There's nothing between the two of them that's problematic. Typically, everything that happens that affects their relationship are things like, Dino's friends getting in trouble and now he has to run off and do something. And then Rack is sitting around saying, okay, is he okay? Is he coming back? That kind of thing. But he's not sitting around mad at Dino because, Dino or Dino told him what he was going to go do. So more or less, he may have some worry, but it's not like he's sitting around saying, I know he's having an affair. So there is no drama in that regard. Everything is from outside of the relationship. And that's a really, to me, that's a form of storytelling that's a little hard to pull off, but they did it pretty well with this one. And it kind of makes you root for the characters even more, because it's like, this is one of the few relationships where you see that there's solid communication. There is a clear, I'm not dating you until I take care of this problem. Okay, problem solved. Now we can date. There's not a lot of that. I want to date you and my 3 friends too. They don't do any of that. Both guys are honest, straight shooters. They don't try to hide their past. They don't try to lie to their parents. It is so straightforward. It's almost one of those, well, damn, did he just say what I think he said kind of things. And I like that because in a way, I said that one of the reasons that I give somebody a perfect 10 is when, and I didn't say this is a perfect 10, by the way, but it's just a 10, is when the men behave in a manly manner. And I want to clarify that. I don't mean manly as in chest pounding, gotta dunk a basketball type manly. What I mean is men who represent what we expect in general for a man to be. In other words, is it okay for a guy to cry? Yeah, when it's appropriate. But if he's crying in every single episode of every single scene, at some point that is not the kind of behavior and response that we expect from men in general. So in a yaoi or a BL, same rules apply. It's not that we're saying men can't have emotions. Of course they can. The problem is when the emotions start to represent other groups instead of the group that, we've come to expect to be a man. Because, let's be honest, boys love and yaoi and all that, they're supposed to be 2 men interacting. It's not, and I personally don't even like heteros where the women are crying the whole time. I mean, get a grip. Nobody cries that much. I'm just saying, guys that act like guys. I really, even when it comes down to the shows where the men are wearing women's attire, if they're wearing women's attire, but they're still carrying themselves in a manly way, like a dude, then I don't have issue with that either. It's when they're trying to mimic women and then they kind of lose the whole, I think there's a story, About Youth. About Youth would still get a 10 from me, even though one of the characters is dressing like a girl. He still acts like a dude, and it cracks me up because he's stomping around in those heels, and I'm like, dude, you walk it, right? He's supposed to be a teen, so he's young, But, he still carries himself like a guy. I mean, right down, he's got that dress on and he'll still throw a punch, And to me, that's what BL is. Nothing against, the queer community and all that. It's just that, when you're starting to separate the entertainment angles, like what is it that, what's the expectation? What do we want in a BL? To me, that is a big part of it. I like men. I like the way they look. I like the way they act. And sometimes the way they smell, depends on what they're doing. I like everything about men. So I don't find it all that entertaining when I'm trying to watch something where I expect this guy to act like a guy and all of a sudden he's sniveling and crying and, hiding behind somebody's skirt or, gossiping and lying and trying to connive his way through. It's like, dude, come on. If I wanted to watch, 90210, then that's what I'd be watching. I don't want to watch a bunch of guys pretending to be, besties. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. So getting back to this one, the guys, they do a good job, even though these are not like I said, these are not manly men. Dino is, Rack is not, and neither is Rack's roommate. They come across as cute and youngish and kind of adorable, but they still carry themselves like men. When Rack tells Dino to, basically shut the hell up, he does so in a way a guy would. He's not cowering when he says it. He's not whispering. He's not giving him a note and sliding it under his desk. He will stand up to that big guy and let him know, look, you're in my territory right now. This is how I handle things, so back off. It's really, in that regard, they do a good job. Okay, let me get off of that kick for a second. They meet all the rest of the criteria, by the way, for it to be a 10, and that's why it is one. Okay, so next question is, will you like it? Now, as always, I can only tell you a little bit about it, and then you have to decide if you like it. Now, I will say, in this one, you will more than likely like it, okay? Because it's one of those things that kind of balances out. And that if the storyline isn't hot enough, then the sex scenes will be. So it's going to hit one button or the other of what a BL fan would look for. But fair warning, when I say danger, danger. There's a lot of really deep subject matter that's in this story. But they try to deliver it in a comedic way, but they do not do a bang up job in that department. So what I mean by that is there's a lot of stuff in here that if you're really paying close attention to the storyline, it could be triggering. It could be one of those things that brings up some hellified memories if you've lived that life. I'm just saying. And what they're trying to do is take those issues. Again, that's not between the two main characters. These are things going on with the side characters that affect the main characters. But they're trying to bring you these side stories in a kind of a slapstick comedic manner, which sort of, it's weird. It's like one minute you're expecting them to break out in song and dance, but the subject matter they're talking about is not something any of us should be dancing about. In fact, it's one of those things of, wow, that guy survived that, huh? Kind of thing. The story overall is also very cheesy. It's if you weren't watching it, if it weren't for the sex scenes and everything, it would come across as a after school PBS special. I kid you not. These guys, between the way their acting is okay, but the way that they portray it is, it's, if you're looking closely, it's going to look more like Power Rangers. Like the lines are forced. Like you can tell somebody in the background is either telling them constantly, look over here, look over there, say it with more energy. Oh shit, do it again. You can tell it's unless it's just a stressful environment they're working in, their delivery of some of the lines and some of the things that they're doing, you could tell that it doesn't flow naturally. But it's not that they're bad actors. I want to make that clear. The acting is not, it's not bad. It's just very, it's clearly acting. It does not come across as real in many cases. And I think, again, that's background noise. I do not think it's because of the story overall, or like, the general depiction overall. Okay, so generally speaking, most BL fans will like it. If you want something that's a little like lighthearted, just be advised that there's a lot of deep and dark undercurrents that are scattered throughout the story. Some of it will be a little hard to swallow depending on your own personal experiences, because a lot of this stuff can be triggering. It is a love at first sight kind of story. So for those of you who really don't like those kind of stories, this one is 100% love at first sight. So it might be a turnoff for you. I don't really care one way or the other. Love is love. I'm not picky about that. So it didn't bother me, but it might bother you. I don't know. So in general, you'll probably like it. I know I did after watching the whole show. To be honest, I was iffy as to whether or not I was going to like it when I kept having to wait for new episodes to come out, because each of the previews made it sound like, oh, now we're getting ready to get into stupid territory. And then it would turn out that it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And they made up for anything that was really dumb by throwing in a really good hardcore sex scene. I said hardcore. It's not really hardcore. It's more like raw, in that it's not hardcore. It's not non-con. It's nothing that's forceful, but it is pretty raw in that, these guys seem to have a tendency to talk, or, it's a little raw. So if you can handle the super cheesy story, then you'll like this one. If you can get past that part, everything else is pretty good. Okay, so some things that you need to know. And I don't really have this is not a huge part, so lucky you, right? What do you need to know? This is about a rated R in most places. It's not quite an NSFW. There's 10 episodes. Those episodes are about 45 minutes each. And there's only one season so far that I've seen. I'm not really sure that the story left off in a way that they should make a season 2. I've heard people in the comments saying, oh, they should make a season 2. I'm not really feeling that. Now, would I like to see these two in another show? Yes. Especially, like I said, their sex scenes are I'd say their sex scenes are on par with Checkout to a certain degree. Not quite that much. But there is an uncensored version, and I might actually go try to find it just because of the job they did in the censored version. Because I'm thinking if the uncensored is any hotter than what they're doing in this thing, then, and I say hot, I'm not talking about non-con and hardcore. I'm talking about the way they delivered. I can't really explain it. You would have to watch some of it, and then you'll know what I mean by hot scenes. They're the kind that, they'll raise your temperature a little bit, even though they're still acting, and it's still clear that they're acting. They're not doing anything that would be borderline pornographic or any of that. It's just that if they don't like each other, you're not going to be able to tell by what they're doing. I'll put it like that. They're doing a great job of convincing me and the rest of the audience, I'm sure, that they really like each other. At least they like the way each other taste. I guess they do a lot of taste taste testing in this one. My oh my. So let's see. So yeah, the main thing you need to know, though, is there's a lot of triggering topics within the story. I'm not going to mention them because this is such a light film that anything that's outside of the two parties involved would come across as like dark drama. And it's not enough of it for it to really be a dark drama. It's just, it's kind of like, if you ever watch a horror film and the film is really about like a werewolf or something, and then somehow they flash to a vampire real quick and then come back to the werewolf. It's kind of like that. So they give you flashes of things that could, but are not really part of the story. So there's not much more I can explain on that one. This is one of those you kind of have to watch it and see for yourself. I give it a 10. I give it a thumbs up. I think they did a good job. All right, so, well, that being said, I know my opinion might not be yours, so please leave a message in the comment section after you watch it and let other people know what you think about it so that they can decide if they want to watch it. And, of course, if you agree or disagree with what I've had to say about it, then feel free to let me know in the comment section. Because, after all, if you like it, you'll love it. And if you don't, you won't. Well, this is Spideera, and I'm signing off. I will see you in the next one.